right, here we go for what is probably exercise 4B now, I think we're up to. This one's a bit of a doozy, so we need to set up a fair bit of code first so that we can get our little turtle to bounce around the screen in the way that we want it to. So you probably want to stick with me in this. I'll explain as much of the code as I can along the way, but obviously I'm going to try and get some of this entered as quick as possible so that we can get going with the actual answer. So to begin with, we want to import some packages. So we're getting two separate things there, and then we're setting up a new thing that you haven't seen yet called a class, which is going to sort of house all of our functions. So in Python, we normally have an initialization function or a compiler function, which is known as an init. That's what we're creating here, and it's going to do quite a lot of stuff. So load's happening here. Basically what we're doing is just setting up our screen so that things are ready to go. Okay, so there's quite a lot happening there, which is basically us compiling and creating our screen and getting that set up and ready to go. Okay, so from here we're going to have a new function which is going to set our scene for us. So we're going to prepare the window and the turtle. And at this point, what we're looking to do is create a new function. So we're going to have a function called setScene. And you'll notice that up here we called setScene at some point, just sitting up here in our initialization function. So that's going to go then and find this particular function down the bottom here. In this instance, we're going to then set up our screen size so that that's ready to go, and then we want to set up a border that sits inside that. So this is some code that's going to go there. So set up the border, and then what that's going to look like is we're going to say self.turtle.width is 5. That's supposed to be pen up. And then we need to set things so that we're ready to go. So self.turtle.forward and then the distance. So in this instance, we're going to drive forward the screen width variable. But we're going to add an extra 10 to that. Now, a couple of things just quickly. I did miss a dot there, so we'd call the right function subfunction of the turtle class. And then also, if you have noticed so far, I have been spelling height incorrectly. That is part of the turtle package, so we need to keep consistent with that. As I said, this is pretty long, but this is all just setting up our screen so that we can have our little border and stuff on the screen and everything sitting there ready to go. Oops, wrong way. What this little one's doing here is just creating a thing where if we do hit the edge, it's going to multiply the direction variable by -1, which will always mean that we reverse the direction that we are moving. And then in this instance, I'm just going to make things a little bit quicker here because I'm going to copy and paste this into here. Now obviously that's the same for now, but I'm just going to go through and quickly change all of the x's to y's and the widths to height, and that'll be much faster than retyping everything out there. cool. So that's more or less us set up and ready to go. We just got a couple of little things that we need to do from here. So we're going to create a comment answer goes here for color change. Alright, so that's that one, and then we just need to quickly run our function. So we're going to say bouncy animation equals bouncy animation, and then we want to go bouncy animation dot run forest run. Did I put a capital up there? Yeah, I did. Cool. So loads of code, but basically what we've got here is our compiler function, which is going to run everything in terms of setting up the screen. Then we're setting our scene and drawing a extra little box on screen, setting it up so that if we were to click on screen, it would stop running, and then also getting our little ball to run around the screen for us. So I'm going to run this and make sure, hopefully, that I don't have any errors. So I want that to be exercise 4B this time, and hopefully it spits out. Nope. Okay, there we go. So you can see here that the error that we've got is that in our set scene function, we called set ip, which is supposed to be set up. So hopefully that was the only little typo along the way. Run that again and see what comes up next. Selt, which is probably supposed to be self, so that's in set scene. Where's the T? There's the T there. So self. So as you can see, I'm just quickly looking through, having a look at you know, where the error actually is, and then finding out what the error was, and then running back into my code and finding it. So this is the quickest and easiest way to debug that sort of code when you've added so much at a time. All right, and then this is what we get here. So that's obviously not ideal. It's not looking like it's supposed to, unfortunately. But we can work with that for now, and then I might have a look at fixing the code in a little bit later on. So what we want to do from here is basically get it so that we can put an if statement down the bottom there, and more or less get that to bounce around. So what I might do just quickly so that you can get an idea on what that's supposed to do, what it's supposed to look like, is we should have it looking like this. Okay, so that's what it would look like when we're finished. So I'm just going to undo those changes and come back to where we were. All right, and you can see that on screen we now have just a green ball bouncing around. Now how the ball actually works is it is calculated based on the center point here. So that means whenever we do our calculations trying to write our if statement, we need to get it to bounce when it hits the edge of the box rather than the edge of the screen, and that's why it's set up to be a little bit different there. All right, so super quick and simple way to do that is we're just going to start to actually have a compare some of our variables that we have on screen, and then getting the colors to change at that point there. So we might have something like if self.x is greater than or equal to self.screenWidth. Okay, say minus 20, because remember we've got to calculate from the middle of the ball. We're going to then have self.turtle color, and we're going to change that to red. Okay. Now the reason that we're putting self in here all of the time is because we're within this bouncy animation class. So we're just saying that we're within the class here. Now if we were to run this across multiple files or across multiple classes, we can then refer to the actual class by name. But obviously when we're internal to the class that it's written in, we use the prefix sort of self there. So next we might have an elif self.x is less than or equal to, but this time we want negative self.screenWidth, no capital, minus 20. Okay, and this time around we're going to say self.turtle.color, and we might just leave this one back as green. Okay, and the cool thing is here, obviously when we go to run our code, we can see what that looks like quite quickly. So you can see that we do get some red, and then eventually we get a green. So this is obviously because we're talking about width, we're looking at the two outside edges of the screen. The graphics is It's coming up a little bit incorrectly there. The ball shouldn't bounce out of these, but that's okay. Now, for us to get the up and down to then have two separate colors as well, we can sort of cheat like we did up here and copy our entire if statement and paste it there. But obviously now we need to make things for the Y axis. So we're going to change our X values there to Y, but then we also need to change our width to height. So I'm just going to quickly update those. And then we can select two different colors. So again, I might have blue and yellow as the other two colors to keep things sort of as simple as possible. So we get a yellow there. And now when I run that code, you'll notice that when I bring this across, whoops, I've closed it because I clicked on the inside. So as I bring this across, we have 4 different colors based on where it bounces on the screen. All right, so the exercise itself there was more to have a think about making the calculation based on the ball, okay, but the ball's coordinate is on the middle, okay, so that's why we have to have this thing where we're saying like if our X value is greater than or equal to the screen width minus 20, because we're actually saying we need you to come all the way over here but inside 20 pixels because our ball is going to be sort of touching the edge there, but we're calculating it based on the center of the ball instead. That's where that thinking needs to change a little bit, because we need to consider the object's position in comparison to the position of that outside extremity or border that we're talking about there. Now I know that this one was quite a long one and there was quite a lot of code in there, so hopefully you stuck with me there and we were able to get through this one quite quickly. As I said, the main learning there is starting to have a think about the actual ball's position, which is in the center of the ball, okay, and then when that needs to change based on knowing that the radius of the ball is 40 pixels, getting it so that we're calculating our variable based on 20 less. All right, so that's that one over and done with. Hopefully now that's, I guess, sort of our topic for finished for the basic side of our Python. So now we're going to be moving into some while loops in the next topic.